UFC Central.
We knew that our advertising was a very risky direction.
We look back at the UFC's controversial beginning with a man responsible for making it happen.
But I think at that moment the fighters themselves realized this ain't phony, this is real.
When UFC Central continues. Upcoming events.
Next Saturday, live on SportsNet 360 UFC Fight Night, Bader versus St. Preux goes down in Bangor, Maine. Then 1 week later, a pair of events take place on the same day. First in Macau, China, then later that day in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Joe, all of those events wouldn't be happening if it weren't for the UFC being formed way back in 1993.
Yeah, I mean, we often forget how far the sport has come in the past 20 years. I remember exactly where I was when the first event aired in Canada, but looking back, I am definitely grateful for Art Davie's vision. He took a huge risk simply to showcase which was the best martial art when you pit them all against each other in a cage.
It was a 4-year odyssey for me to take my idea about a pay-per-view tournament and finally get it up on pay-per-view television in November 12, 1993.
We're live from the mile-high city of Denver, Colorado, at the McNichols Sports Arena, the site of tonight's landmark martial arts event. 8 of the deadliest fighters in the world will meet in a no-holds-barred combat to determine who is the ultimate fighting champion.
And so, the UFC was born, thanks in part to the vision of co-founder Art Davie.
My job was to pull something together, package it, and then sell it. And that's what this really required, because as I point out in the book, is this legal? You know, the inspiration was there for thousands of years with Pancration, Vale Tudo in Brazil. There had been mixed matches before, Ali and Inoki, etc. But my ability to be able to see through the maze, the miasma of all that was out there, and to decide that this thing needed to be a pay-per-view event and needed to be a tournament so we could showcase a wide variety of martial arts.
And that is exactly what they did, despite the opposition, which included being referred to as human cockfighting.
We knew that our advertising was a very risky direction. My background in advertising told me that it was a two-edged sword. I knew it would sell tickets. I knew it would put people in the seats. I was also worried that it would have a blowback effect. But we all knew that we were facing an audience of 20 million homes that was wired for pay-per-view, and that there were boxing and wrestling events, and we had to stand out. So the decision was made. I felt that when you ban something in Boston, suddenly everybody wants it. And that's what Senator McCain did for us.
And while they would stand out, luck was on their side, for a disagreement in the dressing room nearly put the whole event in jeopardy.
There was a potential blow-up, maybe even a fight, arguing about the rules, about the tape on the knuckles. And it was Taylor Tooley, the big sumo wrestler, who signed the release that had the rules, slammed it on the table and said, I don't know about the rest of you, but I came here to party. I'll see you all tomorrow night.
So the show would go on, and in the opening bout, the 400-pound Taylor Tooley would be a part of history, but not how Davie had envisioned.
Kathy, what do you think?
Well,
let's go low.
I think we're just missing teeth there.
Gerard just caught him with a real good roundhouse kick to the face.
Yeah, I think it's possible he may have a cut under his eye.
They stopped the match, I believe.
Truly, that fight and that kick was the seminal moment in the history of the martial arts, because everyone who watched it, who thought maybe it was this going to be some sort of a wrestling event, you know, a bogus wrestling event, a work, when they saw that bout and that kick, they knew. And the martial arts changed that moment, and we've been on that path ever since.
This is a major part of fighting. People do not understand that this is very strong.
It's got to be a great joke. It's over.
It's over. That was just, Hoist is not letting him go. He wants to make sure the referee sees that this is over,
The original event, which saw Hoist Gracie become the tournament champion, would go on to eclipse all pay-per-view expectations. Despite its early success, it would not be something that Davie would stick around to see flourish.
The really important decision was right after UFC 5, when I convinced Rorion Gracie that we were going to sell our portion of the ownership of the event to our television partner, Semaphore. And that was a very emotional moment because Horion saw it as a means to an end, and I saw the event as an end in itself. So that was a conflict of interest there. I stayed on board at Bob Meyrowitz's behest for the next 2.5 years as matchmaker booker, and was gone by the time that he sold the franchise to Lorenzo and Frank Fertitas in 2001. But for me to go back in 2013 and sit by the octagon again was an emotional moment. And as I said, to be there again, sitting next to Horion, was magic. And I can honestly say that it was one of the best moments I've had in the last 10 to 15 years.
Well, you know what, Joe? It's really great that the new ownership recognized Davie and Rorion Gracie last year at the 20th anniversary show, because obviously, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even be here doing this show.
Absolutely.
I might not even know you.
There you go. That's true. I mean, Art and Rorion took a radical idea in the early 90s, and they went with it, and now it's a fine-tuned, well-oiled machine in an industry that started off as being worth next to nothing to now in the billions of
Money,
dollars.
money, money. The only thing I'm saying that can make it better is if I got to go on the road with you.
Yeah, I know.
Just let me come. All right. That does it for us. See you next time.